laptop or so in here I already cloned it, clear, and installed it, created a React app, ls. So let's look at it. Icons, continuing our exploration and handling interactions and events in React. We'll now create a simple UI, but without the input tag element. In addition, we're going to learn how to handle click events. We'll also learn how to utilize SVGs in React. So SVGs is like a codified image. So right here in this icon, I'm going to open all this. My current window. Icons, this is what an SVG file looks like. You don't actually have to code this out. A designer does it and then refactors it into an SVG file. So scaffolding, we got to create the scaffold app using create React app, which we did right here. Already, it's already downloaded. It takes a couple minutes to download. Kind of annoying, but Release one, render the on SVG image from the icons directly and attach an on-click event listener to it. When the image is clicked, toggle it to the off SVG image and vice versa. So on and off, true or false, type of thing. So in our curriculum, walk through the Alt New button for the channel together. I'm going to open this up. Source, app.js. What's the script to start the React server? npm start.
Love this.
They will change. It all depends on your package on file. It doesn't have to be npm start. It's just that's what the create React app script is. Like when I do it in the boilerplate I use, it's like create. It's npm run start dash dev. You get like it gives me additional features for development. But so here's our React app running. Let's look at here. So again, this is a functional component. What other type of component is there? Which is React headed toward? Like functional. Yeah. There isn't any benefit or drawback to either or, except in readability, usability. You don't have to know what classes are to actually implement a full functioning React app before you used to have to. Does anybody know why in previous React what class components do that functional components could not do in the past version? State. So the past versions of React, you can only declare states in a class component. In a functional component, you used to not be able to declare states. So you only have to be able to pass down. If you wanted to have some data in a functional component, you have to pass it down with props from the parent, which would have been more often not a class. So functional component. Cool. Let's get rid of this. So if I want to toggle something on and off, true or false, how should I, what's the initial, is there any data that I should store that? A Boolean. Cool. So how do I declare state in a functional component in React? Someone at the light? Yeah. How do I, what do I need to declare state in a functional component? Set state. Use state. Oh, like your use state, set state, which is it? Use state. What is set state for?
Changing. I mean, setting.
So, well, this dot set. So like this dot set state is how you set states.
Oh,
how you change it for a class component. Now there is set, whatever you want to name the state, in the use state import use state. And what does use state return? The use state method returns what?
Two variables.
So use state returns two things. It returns the initial value of the state you want to declare, initial value of that, as well as a function that enables you to update that state. And what that looks like is, so is muted. So that's the initial state variable that we want to declare. Is muted. That's just going to be a Boolean value. X, let's just store a Boolean value, true or false. And then set is muted, which is the function. It's going to be the function that enables us to update is muted. So we have to call this in order to update that. Call set is muted in order to update is muted.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
Do you have to use the whatever your initial state is, whatever, if it's is muted or is it blah, 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 would you have to do set blah, blah, blah then?
So like set something else?
Yeah, is that valid, or do you always have to use what that initial state is?
So this is valid, I'm pretty sure. I think I tested it yesterday. We can go ahead and test it, but like for usability or mainly readability, kind of want to, for other developers to come along, like what is set something else? I don't know necessarily what that is actually setting or updating. So it is best practice to do set and the name of what you are actually updating. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. But we can test it if you want.
No need to.
State. Our initial state, let's call it last, false. Cool.
Shouldn't we use a let instead of const for that? Because if you have the ability to change variable, shouldn't it be let?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? Like intuitively.
Yeah.
I think in the documentation, isn't it const?
It's constant. Still. I mean, you don't change anything. But
Oh yeah.
Just gonna say you just change that to false.
But constants are actually variables that you shouldn't change the value of, right?
Yeah, but if you're sending back a method that allows you to change the state,
That might
then
operate. Yeah, I think that's why. I actually don't know.
okay.
But yeah, like intuitively, const don't want to name variables const unless you don't want that variable to change out, right? But yeah, I think it might be something with this set state, in my intuition. But
Okay.
and like it would still work if you did that, I think. So let console log is muted. Perhaps a logo is not fine, but never used. Delete that. Set is muted, it's assigned, valid, but never used. Open up the dev tools. So here's our false. Now, what does it say? Like you can follow along, but I'm just gonna kind of go. I'm pretty much following the tutorial. It might deviate a little bit, but kind of doing this how I want to do it. So I'm gonna create a div. Testing, because I want to be able to click this element and have this set is muted and change it to true. So on click equals toggle mute. So I'm going to create a method called toggle mute now. Const toggle mute. Create a fat arrow function. And now I want to set is muted. So what do I want to set is muted to? So but every time I click it, I want it to change what it is. So I can do like
So is muted is false because if it is muted, then it's muted. If not, then it's not.
So
Did you do X equals is bang? Yeah,
yeah,
bang.
bang is muted. So set is muted. I want it to be equal to opposite value of what the current value is. So if it's currently false, I want it to set the opposite of false, so this is true. But this is true, I want it to be opposite of true, so this would be false.
It's not muted. What?
So let's save that. And if I click this, hopefully it works. So I've got the initial value false as the console log down here. Every time state changes, the component re-renders, or like kind of like reloads, called re-render. True, false, true, false. Sick. Cool. But now we want to render an image. So we want an icon. And when dealing with components, we want like each individual component to be its own component that describes what it is. So this app doesn't necessarily describe that this is in fact what we're going to be making is like a mute button, like a toggle mute button. So let's create another component, create another component called mute button. So create a directory called components. And here's where we're going to store all our components. I can do buttons. So I might have other buttons. I might have a mute button. I might have a button that executes a certain function. I might have a button that saves data. So right now, so I've got components directory, a buttons directory, and inside the buttons directory, let's create a mute button.js. Button.js came in, separate the screens, and RC create a stateless component, or currently a stateless functional component. And in here, I just want to say like the mute button just to test it out. What questions do you have up until this point? I'm creating this mute button. Now I need to import this mute button into this app.js component and make it render down here in this JSX. So I do mute button, and depending on what kind of linters you have on VS Code, I can type in mute button, and it's automatically going to import it at the top. If you don't, you'll have to manually type this. Look at this path to it already. All right, toggle mute is assigned. Line 9, never used. Cool. So here's going to be our mute button. But inside our mute button component, this is where we want to import those SVG images for the volume. So I need to drag. So these icons are totally completely outside of our app. I need to drag the icons within the source folder of our React app. Move. Cool. Here are icons. So I want to import those into our mute button. Import SVG from, so I have to go up 2 like levels, up 1 to buttons, up another to components, then into icons, and grab the on SVG. So how do I go up 2 levels? Dot dot forward slash 1 level, 2 level. And I got to go into icons, and then kind of really nice. It already feels like here's the files in here. All right, let's do the on SVG.
Would it be possible just import asterisk and only have one line?
Or asterisks.
You just grab both of them
Like, no, after.
instead of on SVG.
Start again.
I don't know if that works.
Or I think if you go from the from like icons / star.
Test it out. For sake of time, let's just do it like this. This is generally how you're going to be importing stuff. Yeah. And that star, I don't know if that's just a Python or I think it's JavaScript. I don't know. All right, let's just render. So I've got my state in app. I've got my toggle mute in app. So in this challenge, in this lecture, we want to emphasize props and passing props down from your parent component, app.js, down to our child component, which is our mute button. I want to pass down app.js state is muted down to into mute button. How do I do that?
Either use props or name props, right?
Name props.
That is a thing.
I think it's a new thing as well.
Yeah,
Just it works pretty nice.
I've never used it before. So we're going to pass it down as props. That's where you're most likely going to see stuff. And how do I pass things down to the mute button as props? Anything? Dealer. So I can do is muted. I'm going to call it is muted. I can call it anything. I want to pass down the state is muted. Is muted. So cool. Now I just want to console log props. It's always props. Props or this props. So like designate keyword. So I'm gonna, oh no, what is this? Props is not defined in mute.js on line 6. So mute button is just like any normal function. I'm declaring something that hasn't, I'm like trying to console something that has not been declared, or it's not, nothing's actually being passed in. That's called props in this function. So I can pass props down as a parameter in the mute button. So now it automatically refreshes. I'm gonna get rid of this console log. Oh, I'll keep that there. I'll just count it out for now. Here is our props that's being passed down from our app.js component, which is our parent component, down to the mute button component. Is muted as false. So based on whether or not this props value is true or false, I want it to render a specific SVG icon. So in here, I'm going to do a ternary operator. So within JSX, I can write JavaScript code. I can do props is muted. So here is muted. Right there. That's true. I'm going to render it. Should render true. Oh no. Else, I'm going to render false. So right now, it's being passed down as false. So false is being rendered in this ternary operator. I can do all this on one line. But for like readability, like that works. let's change this to true. We can actually change it to true. I had you guys install React DevTools. I'm gonna go to the React DevTools, which is these two things. I go to components, and inside my view button, there's props, rendered by app. Oh, that's that new path that you're talking about, right?
I think so. I'm not sure. I confused them.
So I can actually change state and props directly in the browser to see what happens on the page. So I'm going to change that to true. Let's see what this changes to. What do you think it's going to change to? True. There we go. And I can also change it to like something like that. All right. Okay. But false. True. We got the basic architecture down. But when I click on these divs, I want this to change true or false. So what else can I pass down as props to use in my new button that we're currently not using? Actually, toggle. So let's pass down toggle mute as a prop into our mute button. Toggle mute. So it's console logging. So I'm passing down is muted. It's coming from that JS state. Toggle mute, which is a function that I wrote in app.js. I'm passing that down into the mute button, which I'm coming down here. It's coming in as props, and I'm now console logging props on 6. So let's take a look at what our mute button props is console logging.
Why is the, I mean, I'm sure your answer is next, but why does the button need the function as a, like, as
So why does
can
this
it reference the function in
directly?
in app.js? Just like,
So
why would it need to be data internal to the button?
because I'm interacting with the button component, I'm not actually interacting with the app component. Okay. So I've got is muted, it's false, and this toggle mute button, or this toggle mute prop, which is a function that calls set is muted, the opposite of is muted. So we're passing down a function that mutates the state of the parent component. We're passing that down into a child component. So we're going to be changing the state from a child component. I'm sorry, we're changing the state of a parent component from a child component. So let's just do an on click. Call props.toggle mute. Kind of like we did. Now it's changing. So let's get rid of that console. And let's prove that this is in fact changing the state of that component. So it's actually changing that component state from the child component. Now you just need to render, instead of true or false, you can actually render this SVG file. So how to render images in React. So right here, here's an example of it doesn't have an actual closing tag, so I'm just gonna use that. I'll put that within this div. So the source of this image, we want it to be on SVG. So we can do inject JavaScript right here on SVG. And off SVG. This alt tag on off. Got no errors, which is good. Here it is. That's my div. I'm just going to do this styles, margin, 200 pixels. Oh, that's wrong. Style. So then I just want it down in the middle of the screen. So if I click on this, true, false, true, false, true. Look at the mute button. So when the image is clicked, toggle it on to the off SVG, and vice versa. If you go down here, if you actually read through the document or the lecture, it gives us pretty much relative the same thing, except they also use it as a class component. You create mute button as a class component versus. You can optimize this a little more with destructuring. So instead of perhaps we can actually const toggle mute is muted equals props. Now we can get rid of this props dot everywhere. So it still works. Yep. We can even do it further. We can actually destructure it in our parameter that we pass in. We can get rid of that line of code. Still works.
Also, you can do the same in line 16 on app.js.
Line 16.
If you just pass a dictionary of two variables, it will unpack it.
So
So I can do like, you can just delete the he's muted, this stuff.
Yeah.
So just copy that unpack dictionary from props and this one. Just copy paste and stuff like 16.
Like so.
Yep. I think that.
But to assign it to a variable.
Oh, I think you have to unpack it. So. Anyways, yeah, something.
Yeah, there's other ways you can pass in props and restructure it. Encourage you to research it if you're interested. What else? So let's see if we met the requirements. So we met the requirements. We go in the lecture, talk about restructuring a little more. It is muted. So in this one, there's two. I could have even done, instead of doing this, I could have done just an if is muted, return that just this image and then else something else. But I like to use everything in JSX.
Tom, in terms of design and what you decide to have the state set in the parent versus in the child is so pretty confusing. Like in this example, if the component is called mute button, why would it all the states and functions just be with the component?
So in this case, the reason why it may or may not be because the mute button is just an image. But what else, when you usually mute something, it might mute something else, like audio player. So I might have an audio player or like a song that's actually playing, and depending on that state, whether it's like muted, the song like continues to play or doesn't play. So we might need to have to pass down, dependent on whether it's muted or not. Inside of this component, there might be some logic.
Okay.
So I might also need to pass down like is muted into this one based off of some logic. You might do something else.
Okay.
So you might need your state in your parent because you might have to be passed down to multiple child.
Okay.
Could you, sorry, if you wanted to control like volume too, and would you declare that as a constant, that same like top area, like would you realistically have like multiple?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can have multiple states like volume, set. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
Sure, but yeah.
Because I like my mind to go like bring in a slider. I can. All right. But yeah. Okay. Good. Set volumes like at 50 right now, and then bring in a slider. Slider component like on change. So change the volume.
This feels like it can get messy really quick if you're affecting a lot of things like with one component.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of also
Is there a balance? I mean, I'm sure every architecture decision you evaluate, like, is this just easier done in vanilla JavaScript? Like, I'm just, like for stuff like Airbnb, we're gonna want more robust architecture to control all of the components, but like for something basic, like sometimes vanilla JS might be the shorter path. Or is there like kind of like one rule at the top that's like, okay, if you're dealing with a hierarchy of,
if you're dealing with like data,
yeah,
and like a decent amount of data, and it's kind of like actually whatever tool works for you. If you're more comfortable in doing vanilla JavaScript, loading data, and doing like fetch APIs on in your script JS file, but we're going to be doing API calls in here that's going to pass data to certain components. I think it's easier. This is what I learned. Like more modular, where JavaScript it can get messy really quick and it's not as scalable.
because you don't always want to pull that data into your like internal database, then push it out. Just pull it right from APIs to the components.
They can pull from straight, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Start to like. Thanks.
Any more questions? Want me to run through, try to create a slider volume thing?
Yeah, sure.
Should I stop the recording or should I just go on?
Yeah, keep it.
All right.
We do that behind us later. Personal
We can always
projects.
stop the video if they don't want to watch it.
So I'm going to create a slider that adjusts the volume knob, or that adjusts a state volume. Slider. So let's do like Airbnb stuff. Let's do volume knob. I'm going to see what that looks like. So the first thing I need to do is actually install Material UI. Get started. Installation. They like to use Yarn. Oh, how cool that. I didn't see that before. Anyway. So in my I need that npm install Material UI core because I want access to that slider component. Because I don't want to design a slider component from scratch in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's just not. My time is best right. Where to go? So I need to components, slider, volume, import slider. Run the server again. So in this documentation, import slider form, material. Oh, that's what that is. So it says import slider. Oh, that's temperature. Import slider from material UI slider. So material UI is it's for React components that have specific design patterns and specific functionality. So it's a lot of whatever slider. Copy this out. Copy this down here. There's no handle slider chain. I'm gonna do that right now. Handle slider change, not defined. See what this looks like. All right, comment that out. Just all right. That's my slider. Cool. All right. So handle slider change. Doesn't have to be const. I'm gonna say handle volume change. Const handle volume change. Value. The value should be volume, which is initially set as state, which is 50%. But right now it's at 50. If I set it to 75, see where it's set right there. Pretty easy. Set volume. Handle change. What is handle change? Let's look at the documentation. Handle slider change. Takes an event and value. So look at here. This is what I need to do. Handle slider change. Take an event value. Set volume value. So see, every time I'm changing it, I'm updating state. Therefore, it's re-rendering the entire page. I can do volume. I'll just go volume. Let's change something. So cool, it changes, but I want H2 volume, and then I want the actual volume to show up. Nice. You can add, depending on like the slider feature, has like a bunch of different stuff you can do. Set. Oh, let's do. Yeah, there's our slider.
Tom, for the event, how is it? Can you just explain like how it's kind of like reading or taking it as it's kind of like associating your drag to
An event.
the event that's actually an argument.
So
Is that in the underlying code?
So on handle change. So basically on this change, let's look at. So your question is
Like how it knows that, yeah.
How does it know to pass in an event?
How does it know that the event of you interacting with it there is the the event that affects that. Like, you know, you draft, like clicking on the screen is another event, but it's
Right.
not reading that one. So why does it know that?
Because it's attached to this on change inside of this.
Oh, gotcha.
Component.
Thank
So
you.
this on change equals
Perfect.
that. And this is what an event looks like. There's a bunch of stuff. You get X and Y coordinates of like the screen, a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Cool. Any more questions? All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.